The story of Vitória is an impactful account of the struggle for life after a serious car accident. During her time in the ICU, she went through experiences that changed her perception of death and life. In moments of despair, Vitória had visions of what seemed to be a world between life and death, sensing the presence of loved ones, including her mother, who had already passed away. This gave her a new understanding of spirituality and raised questions about what happens after death. However, the place she was taken to was not quite what she expected. Hello, I'm Marcus, and it's a pleasure to have you here at Beyond the Life We Live. I hope you feel at home and absorb the lesson from this story we are about to tell. While you're here, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, as it's very important for us and helps us bring new and impactful stories to you. In 2012, Vitória suffered a severe car accident, and after the impact, she remembers being conscious for a brief moment, but soon lost consciousness. Taken to the ICU, where she remained for 12 days in a coma. During this period, she had a remarkable experience. The doctor declared her death to her father. Vitória, however, could see and hear everything, even outside her body. She screamed desperately, trying to warn them that she was alive, but no one could hear her. Strangely, though, she couldn't get close to her father. What she didn't know was that she was living the first of two near-death experiences that awaited her. She saw her own body lying down and noticed the presence of her mother, already deceased. She tried to get someone's attention, but no one could hear her. Confused, she asked one of the doctors why her father couldn't hear her, and strangely, he responded calmly,
"Stay calm."
This doctor didn't seem to exist physically, but he could interact with her and the environment, which intrigued her even more. Then she noticed that several doctors of the same origin as the one who had just spoken to her appeared around her, and she believed they were part of a large team, none of whom seemed to exist physically. Still, she could see them clearly as she watched her own body. Then Vitória felt herself fall asleep. She doesn't remember returning to her body. She only remembers waking up at some point. Days later, when talking to her father, Vitória confronted him, asking why he hadn't seen her during that moment. That was how she processed the experience, still perplexed by everything that had happened. Her father was startled, since Vitória had always had visions and inexplicable experiences, something he called her good witch side. Since childhood, she had said things that made no sense to him, like the time she saw her deceased uncle. After the first experience, when she returned to her hospital room, she began to face severe complications. The graft she had received was rejected, and she contracted an infection, which sent her back to the ICU. This time, the situation worsened, and she was once again induced into a coma. During this period, she had a second near-death experience, but very different from the first one. She remembers being in the ICU when someone appeared and told her she needed to go with him. Even while in a coma, her perception was clear, and once again, she found herself outside her body. Taken to what she describes as the threshold, popularly known as hell, she quickly noticed the temperature rising in a dark, steamy, and horrible place that seemed like the end of everything. And there, the feeling was one of extreme discomfort and despair, unlike the serenity she had felt in the first experience. This sense of despair grew stronger with each passing moment until a being appeared and called her to move forward. As she followed, she found a devastated environment, like an apocalyptic scene filled with fire, dirty water, and destruction everywhere. In the midst of all this chaos, a child appeared and offered her comfort, telling her not to be afraid. Vitória felt as if she was walking through a maze with no way out. The sense that something terrible was about to happen followed her, along with the persistent question of who or what she was supposed to find in that horrible place. Vitória vividly remembers people screaming in the midst of the chaos, as if they were trapped in that nightmare. The child who accompanied her seemed to know something, but Vitória couldn't understand. She described that as she walked through that place, a feeling of despair engulfed her even more. The fear of dirtying her own clothes, a curious and vivid detail, seemed to be the only thing that kept her connected to a sense of normality. The child who accompanied her continued to guide her, always reassuring her and affirming that nothing bad would happen. When they finally left the place, passing through what she described as a wall, the child said it was time for Vitória to return. Vitória, confused, questioned the purpose of that experience and asked the child who she was supposed to be looking for in that place. The child's response was simple, yet extremely disturbing.
You were in the threshold.
The confirmation that she had truly been in that despairing place echoed in her mind as she returned. Today, recovered, Vitória doesn't exactly remember how she returned to her body or when she re-entered her hospital room, but the experience was vivid enough to leave a deep mark. She feels that this connection with life after death and her visions have influenced her view of the world, awakening a new understanding of herself and what might exist beyond life. She believes there is a transition between the physical world and a reality between the living and the dead, where she believes she was, changing her perception of what it truly means to die.